Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, or the basis for a lawsuit, as a few of the numbers on our list today prove to be. It shouldn't be a surprise that throughout the last several decades, many developers have taken notes from games that have come before them, but sometimes that inspiration goes a tad too far, and a game ends up becoming a total knockoff, as is the case with the games on our list today. Sometimes those knockoffs are pretty damn great. So today we're counting down the top 10 best video game ripoffs. Let's jump in. And at number 10 is Pong. Let's start off our list with one of the most notable additions to the video game industry. Pong is highly considered to be the very first home console video game, but did you know that it's actually a ripoff? Atari initially manufactured this table tennis game, developed by Atari co-founder Nolan Bushnell, but Bushnell had based it off a game that was included in the Magnavox Odyssey, the first commercial home video game console that connected to your television and was capable of displaying 3 square dots on your screen, all of which were manipulated in different ways to provide different games on the console, and came with little plastic overlays and props that were included in your gameplay. One of these games was a ping pong game, and this is what it looked like. So yeah, Atari was sued. Up next, number 9 is The Great Giana Sisters. The Great Giana Sisters lets you play as a girl who suffers from nightmares and traverses 32 dungeons full of monsters in search of her sister Maria, who then wakes you up if you win the final battle of the game. Sounds neat, except for the game itself is pretty much a carbon copy of Super Mario Bros. The 2D platformer is almost identical aesthetically, with owls replacing Goombas and diamonds replacing coins. There was even an alleged lawsuit, an urban myth that claims Nintendo sued the developers. It was a rumor that begun when The Great Giana Sisters was pulled from stores. Nintendo admitted to have influenced the game's stop of sales, but denied the lawsuit. All that aside, the game has gotten rave reviews, and has been noted to have one of the best soundtracks from that era. Plus, its follow-up, Giana Sisters Twisted Dreams, diverted a little bit more from the Mario franchise, giving itself its own style. Up next, number 8 is Bayonetta. While the protagonist of this game is definitely unique in her own right, it's the rest of Bayonetta that shares quite the chunk of similarities with another hack-and-slash game, Devil May Cry. With many similar gameplay mechanics, combat system, and visual cues, many think that Bayonetta is actually a sexier version of Devil May Cry, and is the superior of the two, which shouldn't come as a surprise, since the games are created by the same man. Up next, number 7 is Saints Row series. Saints Row shares many qualities with another specific open-world crime-driven franchise, Grand Theft Auto. The two share similar mechanics, similar fictional locales based off of real cities, and to an extent, similar tones pertaining to humor, with Saints Row being more so over the top. But to be fair, Saints Row has really come into its own in recent years, further developing its tone and style into something much more original and unique, even if its gameplay mechanics still feel similar to GTA. Up next, number 6 is Farmville. A small indie company called Slashkey created a Facebook game called Farmtown. It was an addictive little game that was on the road to success, with over 3.7 million daily active users playing it. Then, a few months later, after it was created, a larger company named Zynga released a game that was a replica, almost matching Farmtown to a T, and it was called Farmville. Farmville went on to hold the title of the most popular game on Facebook for over 2 years, but how the mighty fall. After 2011, it began a steady decline, dropping to the 110th most popular game on the social media site. Farmville's developer Zynga has a history of ripping off other games, and has been sued in the past by the likes of EA. Up next, number 5 is Angry Birds. When you really think about it, Angry Birds is a little absurd. You slingshot odd-looking birds into delicate structures and the pigs that live in them in order to destroy them. So it makes a little bit more sense when you take a look at Crush the Castle, a game that is pretty much medieval warfare. Use a catapult and an onslaught against your enemy's castle. And Angry Birds is verbatim. The game uses almost identical game mechanics, simply replacing the assets for more ludicrous, colorful characters, but keeping most of the same features and projectile types, except now they're just Angry Birds. Up next, number 4 is Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero was released in 2005, developed by Red Octane and Harmonix. Prior to that, the team at Red Octane had worked on creating hardware for Konami's arcade game Guitar Freaks for the North American release of the game. So, of course, they made their own knockoff version, using a similar plastic guitar that came with the game as the controller, which was exactly like the one in Guitar Freaks. Additionally, the gameplay was visually very similar, both with meters that showed the player how well they were doing, with a game over if they missed too many music notes, and had the added bonus of licensing music to bring in rock classics rather than just featuring generic music in the game, which is a big reason why it was much more successful. Up next, number 3 is Rock Band. It wasn't all rainbows and sunshine for Guitar Heroes there on out. Before the development of Guitar Hero 3 began, Harmonix parted ways with the game's publisher Activision, and created its own musical game with the aid of MTV and EA. Activision wasn't too happy about that, and boasted that the game would be just an imitation of its franchise. But it wasn't entirely. It excelled past Guitar Hero, using the game's guitar guitar mechanics, but also adding other musical instruments into the mix, with a way more realistic approach to its overall aesthetics. Up next, number 2 is Sonic and Mario. While this number may have some people's blood boiling, it's worth discussing due to the nature of Sonic's inception. Sonic was created by Sega with the intention of giving Nintendo's Mario franchise direct competition, by creating their own icon that would give the Italian plumber a run for his money. And it did. There's been multiple Sonic games that have been noted by critics to share similarities with Mario games released prior to them, with the biggest being Mario Galaxy. Luckily for us, Sonic has become much more than that, holding his own in the video game industry, but not without fans still noticing the parallels between the two. These franchise rivalries would go on for years and years, even to this day, with reviewers noting that Sonic Forces has a few similarities to Mario Odyssey, like the removal of limited lives. And finally, in at number 1 is Miss Pac-Man. Turns out that Miss Pac-Man is a ripoff of Pac-Man. So let's backtrack a bit. Pac-Man was released in arcades in October of 1980, and was a huge hit. While it was blowing up, 3 young programmers were trying to break into the video game industry, with a company they created called General Computer Corporation. GCC made plug-in boards for arcade machines, which theoretically would save arcades a ton of money, since owners could upgrade their machines with these plugins and introduce new games, all without having to buy new machines. Developers didn't like this much though, and sued them for some of the games that they had developed with these plugins, which were essentially knockoffs of their games. One game they had created was called Crazy Otto, which was a Pac-Man knockoff. And since Midway was getting antsy about getting a Pac-Man sequel up and running, the General Computer Corporation sold them Crazy Otto. Midway then reskinned it and turned it into Miss Pac-Man. Alright, there we have it, friends. Did you know that all these games were ripoffs? Let us know in those comments below. And if you want more videos on ripoffs or just video game history in general, give us a shout about that too. In the meantime, if you dug this video, why don't you hit those like and subscribe buttons? And head on over to our channel. We've got a ton of videos just waiting for you to watch them, especially in our recently uploaded playlist. Thanks for watching, everybody. I've been Kelly Pally, and this has been Top 10 Gaming. I'll catch you all in the next one.